Have you ever asked yourself a question so small, so strangely precise, that you almost dismissed it? Like, why this number? Why was the final digit of your birth year that particular number? Not the year in full, not the day, just the last note, that quiet digit at the end, the one you've written thousands of times without a second thought. What if that single mark, the punctuation on the year you entered this world, holds more than just mathematical relevance? What if it carries a symbolic frequency, a silent tone that has been echoing within you since the very beginning? In Jungian psychology, there are no trivial details. What appears small is often the gateway to something immense. Carl Jung taught that the psyche speaks through symbols, through myth, through dreams, through time itself. And time, he believed, is not merely chronological, it is archetypal. It carries moods, messages, energies. You weren't just born into a body. You were born into an atmosphere, into the collective psychology of a specific moment in history. And that final digit? It might just be the symbolic fingerprint of the soul you came here to live as. This isn't about superstition or labeling. Jung never sought to trap the soul in definitions. He sought to uncover what lies beneath the surface. Numbers, like dreams, carry resonance. They repeat in myths, appear in sacred texts, and symbolize emotional themes across cultures. A0 is not just a circle, it is the void, the womb of potential. A 1 is not just the start, it is the lone pioneer, the seeker of identity. Each digit from 2 to 9 vibrates with its own archetypal story, its own mythic invitation. So, what might your final digit whisper about your path? What inner rhythm might it reflect? This journey is not about prediction, it is about recognition. It's about giving language to something you may have always felt but never quite named. In the sections ahead, we'll explore each digit not as a label, but as a mirror, a portal, a clue, something ancient and quiet that's been with you since your first breath. Because sometimes the smallest symbol holds the deepest truth. And maybe, just maybe, that last digit is a thread, one woven through the soul's silent design. Think for a moment about the patterns that seem to weave through your life. The coincidences that feel too precise to dismiss. The timing of events feels strangely intentional. This is where Carl Jung invites us to look beneath the surface. To him, life was never a chaotic stream of unrelated moments. It was a carefully woven tapestry, threaded with symbols that guide us long before we consciously recognize them. Jung believed symbols were not decorative ideas or abstract imagery. They were living currents in the psyche, active forces that shape how we feel, how we think, how we choose, how we love, and how we struggle. He observed that symbols reappear across cultures and centuries, surfacing in myths, rituals, stories, and the private language of dreams. They were not random. They were messages. They were the soul speaking in its oldest tongue. Now, bring that symbolic lens to something most people never consider: numbers. In modern life, we treat numbers as tools to calculate or organize. We rarely pause to ask what they mean. But ancient cultures and Jung himself saw numbers as energetic signatures. Each number carried its own pulse, its own psychological vibration, its own role in the architecture of meaning. 0 represented the cosmic void, the womb of potential. 3 signified harmony and sacred unity. 7 carried the theme of transformation. These numbers appeared not only in sacred texts, but in dreams, during moments of change, in visions, in the symbolic movements of the unconscious. Jung recognized this and studied how numbers surfaced when individuals were undergoing deep psychological evolution. To him, Numbers did not predict the future. They reflected the structure of the soul. They revealed what was already moving within us. This brings us back to your birth year. Your birth year is more than a date on a calendar. It is a symbolic doorway, a snapshot of the psychological atmosphere you entered. It contains the collective emotions, the cultural energies, and the archetypal forces active at that moment in history. And at the end of that year rests a single digit. Small, yes, but potent. Like the final note of a melody, it gives tone to everything that follows. It lingers. It resonates. It becomes a quiet imprint. What if that imprint has been echoing in you ever since? What if that last digit is not superstition, but a symbolic seed planted at the moment you entered time itself? A seed woven into your patterns, your questions, your strengths, your relationships. In Jungian thought, this idea is not strange at all. It is expected. For Jung, time was saturated with meaning. And by understanding your symbolic entry into time, you begin to understand the deeper forces that shaped your becoming. So, as we explore the digits from 0 to 9, do not approach them as labels. Approach them as invitations. Each number offers a whisper from your deeper self. Each holds a tone that may illuminate patterns you have felt but never named. Together, we will listen for the rhythm of your arrival, and perhaps discover what time was saying the moment your soul stepped into the world. Before we begin, let us make something clear. You are not a number, and Jung would never compress the depth of a human soul into a single symbol and declare it truth. But he would say, pay attention to the symbol, because it may be trying to speak to you. Symbolic thinking does not reduce your identity. It widens your awareness. So ask yourself with sincerity, where does this pattern already live within me? What parts of my inner world seem to echo this tone? How might I align more consciously with what is already moving through me? This journey is not about predictions, it is about perspective. It is not about reshaping who you are. It is about recognizing what has always been inside you, waiting to be acknowledged, honored, and named. When you open your eyes to the symbolic language of time, you begin to see the invisible architecture that has quietly guided your life. You start navigating instead of drifting. You do not need to believe in magic to believe in meaning, and you do not need absolute answers to grow. Sometimes what awakens you is simply asking the right questions. Take a breath. Look gently at the timeline of your life and ask what this small, quiet digit at the end of your birth year has been whispering to your soul. Because now we begin, and we begin exactly where everything both starts and ends. Final digit 0, the soul of the beginning and the end. To be born in a year that closes with 0 is to carry a sacred vibration, one that refuses to fit inside anything linear or ordinary. 0 is not a number that behaves, it is a paradox. A circle without a starting point or a finish line, a silent echo within the architecture of time. The world may dismiss it as nothing, yet the soul recognizes it as everything. In ancient traditions, 0 was not a void. It was the womb of creation, the space before the first sound. Inhale before the first word. Not emptiness, but infinite potential, a field where all possibilities live before taking shape. Symbolically, 0 mirrors the archetype of the self as Jung described it, not the personality, but the totality of being. The wholeness that holds opposites, light and shadow, masculine and feminine, conscious and unconscious. Jung often turned to the image of the mandala, the perfect circle, to express this center of the soul. In this sense, 0 is not passive. It is primordial. It is the ground of being from which all life rises and to which all life returns. And if your birth year ends in 0, you may feel this truth in your bones even if you have never named it. A quiet knowing that life moves in cycles, not straight lines. That meaning is discovered in stillness, not speed. That progress sometimes looks like returning rather than advancing. You may feel different in a world obsessed with direction, noise, and constant striving because your soul remembers another rhythm, a deeper rhythm, a circular rhythm. Those born under the tone of 0 often carry an inner gravity. They attract. Others not through effort, but through presence, through calm, through listening. There is something timeless in them, something beyond surface identity. Others feel soothed by them without knowing why. These are the souls who feel like home, not because they fit in, but because they contain an entire world within. To be born in a year ending in 1 is to carry within your soul the spark of bold initiation. This is the digit of beginnings, not beginnings marked by comfort, but by courage. While 0 holds the quiet of sacred stillness, 1 is the sacred flame that breaks the silence. It does not wait for permission. It steps forward when the path does not yet exist. Those born under this number are not here to follow. They are here to start. In the language of Jungian psychology, the number 1 symbolizes the first step of individuation, that moment when the soul separates from the collective and begins the difficult journey of becoming itself. It is not separation out of rebellion, but separation born from necessity. The soul that vibrates with this number often feels early in life a tension between who they are expected to be and who they truly are. Even as children, they sense an invisible wall between conformity and authenticity. Something inside them whispers, quietly but insistently, "I must find my own way." Carl Jung taught that true transformation requires differentiation from the group, a shedding of imposed roles in order to discover one's unique essence. This is the burden and the blessing of one. You may resist systems, question authority, or challenge traditions, not out of defiance, but because your soul knows it must walk a different road. This can feel isolating. The shadow of 1 is not failure, but aloneness. The fear that if you step away from the crowd, you will vanish into emptiness. But here lies the paradox. You are not alone, you are leading. And leadership, in its highest form, is not domination. It is an inspiration. When aligned, the energy of 1 becomes a beacon. You do not demand that others follow. You simply become so real that others remember how to begin again. Your light does not burn to prove. It burns to guide. If your final digit is 1, your soul carries the archetype of the pioneer. You are not here to conform. You are here to ignite. Let your fire speak, not through noise, but through presence. You were not born to repeat. You were born to begin. To be born in a year ending in 2 is to enter the world carrying the sacred signature of duality. Yours is the soul that instinctively feels in pairs, sensing life not as a solitary path, but as a dance between self and other, inner depth and outer harmony. While the energy of 1 longs to initiate and define, the energy of 2 leans into resonance. It does not push forward to lead. It listens, it adapts, it responds. At its core, 2 is the archetype of relationship, not merely romantic, but existential. You are the mirror, not the flame. People shaped by this vibration rarely need words to understand what is happening in a room. From a young age, you likely sensed the invisible, the subtle tension in a parent's silence, the shift in energy before conflict arose, the aching needs in others they never voiced. Many born under this number became emotional barometers early in life, adjusting, absorbing, even sacrificing to preserve peace. Harmony was not optional, it was survival. In Jungian terms, this number reflects a deep attunement to the anima and animus, the masculine and feminine forces within, yearning for reunion. You carry the ancient memory of union, and with it, the ache to be fully seen and felt. But here lies the paradox. The very gift that allows you to feel so deeply can also cause you to disappear. In reaching for emotional closeness, you may lose the thread of your own voice. Empathy, unchecked by boundaries, can turn into quiet self-abandonment. You become what others need, but forget what you need. You carry others' pain, but ignore your own longing. And in this slow erasure, your soul dims. Jung would not tell you to stop caring. He would ask you to care consciously, to come home to yourself, to realize that true union is not about dissolving into another, but bringing your full presence forward. When you remember that, you become what few ever master, a soul who feels with others without losing themselves, a healer whose power lies not in fixing, but in witnessing, a poet of emotional truth. If you were born under the number 2, know this: your compassion is not weakness, your longing for connection is not too much, but the connection must begin within. When you feel your own heartbeat as clearly as you feel others, when your care has boundaries, when your listening includes yourself, then you do not just reflect love, you become it, a sanctuary in motion, a safe place in a loud world. To be born in a year ending in 3 is to carry within you the sacred fire of expression. This is not the voice that merely speaks to be heard. It is the inner current that moves through word, image, gesture, and rhythm, seeking not performance, but meaning. If your birth year ends in 3, your soul was likely imprinted with the urge to move, to manifest, to connect. You were not made to sit in silence for too long. You were born with a spark that pushes inward tension outward, turning emotion into form, vision into vibration. In symbolic traditions across cultures, the number 3 is never just a number. It is the sacred triangle, the trinity that unites opposites and births something entirely new, a third force, a transcendent meaning, a song rising from silence. While 1 marks the self, and 2 seek reflection, 3 gives rise to creation. It is the child of contrast, the bridge between logic and chaos, the holy messenger of a deeper order. In Jungian archetypes, the energy of 3 is often represented by the divine child, the trickster, and the messenger. Not the child of immaturity, but the one who brings life into what has grown dull and cold. You embody spontaneity, mischief, and playfulness, but beneath it all is a serious purpose. You are the reminder that life is not meant to be endured silently, but expressed boldly. You carry the instinct to revive, to awaken, to bring color to the colorless, and rhythm to what has gone numb. People shaped by this number don't just observe life, they absorb it through symbols, stories, emotions, and gestures. They may speak a dozen languages without words, the language of art, of movement, of energy. Even in silence, they stir something in others. Their essence is not tied to a profession, but to presence. Whether artist, poet, dancer, or storyteller, their truth demands to be shown, not hidden. For these souls, unexpressed emotion is like stagnant water. It must flow or it will fester. But there is a shadow to this radiance. Because they feel so deeply, they may become overwhelmed. The impulse to create can become a way to escape the intensity within. They may leap from person to person, idea to idea, fearing that stillness will swallow them. Jung would remind these souls, expression without inner contact is not communication, it is avoidance. True creativity begins not in the outer world, but in the quiet spaces of the self. The soul, marked by 3, must return again and again to that sacred stillness from which authentic expression is born. When integrated, this energy becomes alchemy. These souls do not just share stories, they name what others cannot say. They hold the mirror to the human experience. They turn grief into melody, longing into brush strokes, silence into presence. They remind us that beauty is not decoration, it is medicine. That joy is not frivolous, it is rebellion. That truth does not always shout, it glows. If your soul is shaped by the final digit 3, know this: you are not here to entertain the world. You are here to awaken it. But first, awaken yourself. Turn your voice inward. Sing into your own silence. Listen for the sacred truth that is still waiting to be spoken. Because when your expression flows from inner truth, you do not just communicate, you illuminate. To be born in a year ending in 4 is to carry the soul of an inner architect, one who does not simply build with hands, but who shapes the invisible scaffolding upon which meaning rests. These are the souls who do not rush to speak, but whose presence speaks volumes. While those born under the 3 may scatter light like sparks from a fire, the 4 gathers that fire, gives it a hearth, and keeps it burning. In the symbolic universe of Jung, the number 4 holds a sacred place. It is the number of wholeness in the material world, the 4 elements of nature, the 4 cardinal directions, the 4 seasons, and the 4 psychic functions. It is the mandala's frame, the square that contains chaos and renders it comprehensible. Those born under this vibration often feel a quiet calling to hold things together. From an early age, they may have sensed that someone had to be the steady one, the one who remembers, organizes, and protects not just objects, but people, emotions, and values. They build stability not for glory, but for grounding. These individuals are often the calm in emotional storms, the ones who make others feel safe, simply by being there. They are drawn to rituals, to consistency, to systems that bring order to the unseen. There is often a deep soul contract in their being, a responsibility to build what lasts, to preserve what matters. And yet, as Jung would observe, every archetype casts a shadow. For the 4 souls, that shadow is rigidity. What once offered safety may, over time, become a prison. The routines that brought peace may become cages. The rules, the expectations, the titles, they may begin to suffocate the very soul that created them. When the need for control disguises itself as duty, the 4 may resist change, spontaneity, or surrender. But Jung would remind us, a structure that does not breathe eventually collapses. The soul of the 4 must learn that flexibility is not chaos, it is resilience. That softness does not weaken strength, it completes it. When integrated, this soul becomes a true pillar, not one that bears the world alone, but one that knows how to hold space without losing itself. They become the architects of safe spaces, the builders of emotional homes, the quiet protectors of sacred things. If you were born under the vibration of 4, know this: you are not here to carry the world. You are here to teach it how to build with care, how to bend without breaking, how to trust the architecture of the soul. To be born in a year ending in 5 is to be marked by the energy of sacred transformation. These are the souls who carry within them the ancient fire of the wanderer, not one who runs, but one who responds to the pulse of becoming. Life does not allow them to remain still, not because of aimless restlessness, but because their spirit is in constant dialogue with evolution. In symbolic systems across time, the number 5 sits in the middle of the numeric spectrum, from 1 to 9. It balances the grounded strength of 4 with the disruptive force of 6. It is the bridge between form and freedom, the point where stability surrenders to growth. Those born under this number often find themselves at the threshold of change again and again. They are not lost. They are responding to an inner current that insists on authenticity even when the path is uncertain. These are the souls who embody the archetype of the explorer, the rebel, the spiritual initiate who dies and is reborn many times in a single lifetime. Jobs may shift, relationships may end, identities may dissolve, not out of confusion, but because stagnation feels like soul silence. To stay unchanged for these individuals is not security, but slow erosion. They are compelled to transform, not to escape, but to align. In them, life is not a straight line. It is a spiral of deepening truth. And yet, the shadow of the 5 must be understood. Without awareness, this sacred call to change can become avoidance. They may leap from one reality to the next without fully inhabiting the lessons of the last. The longing for freedom can disguise the fear of depth. Constant motion may mask the discomfort of sitting still, of facing the inner void. Carl Jung would remind us, individuation does not mean endless movement. It means standing still in the fire long enough to let it burn away the false. When integrated, the 5 becomes a living catalyst. They do not just change, they illuminate change in others. They bring fresh air into stale rooms, possibility into rigid systems, and movement into places long stuck. If your soul was born under the vibration of 5, know this: you are not here to arrive, you are here to awaken. Your journey is not a flight from self, but a sacred return to the self, again and again, each time more real than before. To be born in a year ending in 6 is to carry within your spirit the ancient essence of the guardian. These are the souls who do not chase after recognition or reward, but who remain quietly present when others vanish. They are drawn by something deeper than duty, the sacred pull of the heart. The number 6 in mystical and symbolic traditions represents devotion in motion, the act of holding things together, not for applause, but because the soul cannot bear to let love unravel. In Jungian language, this number reflects the archetype of the caregiver, the silent protector, the sacred heart, whose strength lies not in outward force, but in inner constancy. From an early age, those born under this number often feel responsible for holding the emotional world of others. They sense what is needed before a word is spoken. They comfort, they stabilize, they give. Their presence becomes the invisible net that catches those who fall. People instinctively trust them, confide in them, lean on them, sometimes without even realizing it. And while this is a rare and beautiful gift, it can also become a silent weight. The shadow of 6 is over-responsibility. In their desire to love deeply, these souls may begin to believe that their worth is tied to how much they can carry. They may take on burdens that were never theirs to bear. They may give too much, stay too long, or lose their own reflection in the mirror of someone else's needs. Jung would gently remind us that individuation, the journey to wholeness, requires that we do not forsake ourselves in the name of love. To truly protect others, one must first protect the self. Boundaries are not betrayals. They are expressions of wisdom and care. When this soul integrates its gift, it transforms from martyr to guardian, not someone who disappears for love, but someone who anchors love through presence, clarity, and inner strength. If your birth year ends in 6, hear this truth. You are not meant to carry the sorrow of the world. You are meant to discern what truly matters and hold that close, beginning with your own heart. You are not a prisoner of love. You are its sanctuary. To be born in a year ending in 7 is to carry the mark of the inner seeker, the soul that cannot be soothed by surface explanations or fleeting pleasures. While the world is often distracted by appearances, those shaped by the number 7 are pulled inward toward a deeper and more enduring truth. From a young age, they may feel different from those around them, not in a way that separates, but in a way that silently questions. They notice what others ignore. They listen between the lines. They feel the weight of things unspoken. In symbolic traditions, 7 is the number of spiritual insight, sacred mystery, and the unfolding of the inner world. It is the number of the philosopher, the dreamer, the mystic. Jung would call this the archetype of the hermit or the sage, the one who descends into the unconscious, not to avoid life, but to illuminate it from within. People born under this number often possess a quiet depth. They are contemplative, emotionally intuitive, and naturally drawn to psychology, dreams, and the symbolic patterns that shape our lives. Even as children, they may have gazed at the world with a kind of wonder tinged with sorrow, as if they already knew that what is visible is rarely the whole story. Yet this gift of introspection comes with its own shadow. The search for meaning can become a hiding place. The mind can become a labyrinth. The soul of 7 may drift too far from the body, too deep into abstraction, forgetting the power of presence and the simplicity of being here now. Jung would remind us that insight, to be truly transformative, must be embodied. The goal is not to escape the world, but to return to it with clarity, with compassion, with wisdom that has been hard-won through solitude and self-inquiry. When this soul integrates its inner quest, it becomes a lighthouse, not loud, not forceful, but unmistakable in its calm illumination. Others find peace simply by standing near them. Their presence asks a different kind of question, not one that demands an answer, but one that opens the heart. If your final digit is 7, know this: you are not here to disappear into the depths. You are here to emerge with truth in your hands and light in your voice, reminding others of what can only be seen when we dare to look within. To be born in a year ending in 8 is to inherit the archetype of the alchemist, the one called not merely to rise, but to transmute. This is the soul forged in pressure, shaped by cycles of intensity, and drawn toward mastery through lived experience. The number 8, across symbolic systems, is the emblem of power, structure, and karmic return. It does not merely dream of change, it builds it. It does not merely feel deeply, it acts with impact. But beneath its outward strength lies something more sacred, the longing to transform pain into purpose and hardship into healing. These individuals often move through dramatic seasons of collapse and rebirth, not by accident, but by inner design. Life tests them early and often, yet they are not afraid of the dark, because something in them knows it holds their gold. People shaped by this energy often carry a quiet authority. They lead not through dominance, but through presence. They seek legacy, not from ego, but because their soul longs to leave a mark that matters. Their journey is never just about personal success. It is about building something that outlives them. And yet, like all profound energies, the power of 8 has its shadow. When disconnected from inner awareness, it can become control, perfectionism, or emotional suppression. The fear of vulnerability may tempt them to harden instead of heal. But Jung would remind us that true power is not about domination. It is about integration. When the eighth soul alchemizes its wounds into wisdom, it becomes a force that uplifts systems, transforms pain, and brings medicine to others. If your digit is 8, you were not sent here to conquer. You were sent here to transform. Let your fire not scorch, but refine. To be born in a year ending in 9 is to carry the soul of sacred completion, the wisdom that life, in all its beauty and sorrow, moves in cycles. These individuals are born with the imprint of endings, not as something to fear, but as a truth to embrace. The number 9 holds the echoes of every digit that came before it. It is the culmination of all prior experience, the soul that has walked many roads and now stands as witness to the greater arc of things. Jung might call this the archetype of the wounded healer or the elder soul, the one who holds space for transition, who can sit beside pain without fleeing it, and who midwives the spiritual rebirth of others. People born under this number often feel ancient in spirit. Their eyes seem to remember things others have long forgotten. They are drawn to themes of loss, letting go, and inner renewal, not because they are broken, but because they understand that true healing lies not in resistance, but in surrender. These are the souls who shed identities like old skins. They reinvent, they release, and through their own transformations they become mirrors for others to do the same. But every powerful energy has its shadow. For the 9 souls, it is the quiet burden of carrying pain that no longer belongs to them. They may struggle to ask for help, believing they must always be the strong one, the healer, the space holder. Yet Jung would gently remind them. True wholeness does not require endless sacrifice. It asks for discernment and the courage to let go. If your final digit is 9, you are not here to hold everything. You are here to teach the world that letting go is not a loss. It is liberation. You are not the ending. You are the threshold to what comes next. Most people drift through life without ever questioning the smallest patterns, like the final digit of their birth year. But, as Jung reminded us, there are no true coincidences in the psyche. The unconscious speaks in signs, and numbers are among its most ancient languages. They do not shout, but whisper, and when we finally pause long enough to listen, we may sense something deeper stirring, the soul's quiet remembrance. This digit is not your destiny. It does not define your worth or confine your path, but it may be a symbolic key, a subtle rhythm your spirit has carried since the beginning, a thread woven through your longings, your instincts, your repeated lessons. It may hold insight into the archetype you are here to embody, the energy you are called to refine, the light you are meant to cast. You are not a number, you are not a pattern. But perhaps this number has been gently trying to remind you of something you already know, something that lives beneath the noise of daily life, beneath your roles and your name, something sacred, a hidden truth rising not from logic, but from resonance. So now that you've glimpsed this symbol and felt the nudge of recognition, the question is not whether it's real. The question is, what will you do with what your soul has just remembered? Will you turn away and forget? Or will you follow the thread, not to become someone new, but to remember who you already are? If this touched something sacred inside you, don't let it fade into silence. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your presence here is not just support, it's resonance. And if you feel moved to give back, your donation becomes a quiet but powerful gesture that helps keep this light alive for others still walking in the dark.